For centuries, the remains of a trading ship dating from the 14th century lay undisturbed at the bottom of Singapore's territorial waters until it was chanced upon by a commercial diver in 2015, about 100 meters northwest of Pedra Branca. The significance of that sighting became clear in 2016 after the diver informed Research Centre, IC's Yusof Ishak Institute, of his find. Later in 2019, remnants of a second vessel and its cargo were discovered about 300 meters east of the island. The Institute's research showed the wreck predates Sir Stamford Raffles' arrival in Singapore and is likely to be the Indian-built merchant vessel Shah Mun Shah, which sank while travelling from China to India in 1796. On Wednesday, the National Heritage Board announced the discovery of both ships.
So, Shipwreck 1, the significance is that it's contemporary with the Temasek period, and we've got a lot of ceramics which you can match almost exactly with some of the finds in Fort Canning and Empress Place, and I strongly suspect that it was destined to trade in Temasek. Shipwreck 2, it's late 18th century, it's carrying a cargo from China, it's a large vessel, it's a European hull, and obviously it's before Raffles re-established the port in Singapore, but that's the sort of ship that would have been coming into trade in the few years after he established the port. It's the same sort of articles, some of it would have been for use domestically, some of it would have been transshipment, and a lot of that transshipment would have carried on to Europe.
Battling strong currents and low visibility, researchers conducted diving operations to recover artefacts from Shipwreck 1 between 2016 and 2019. Excavation works on Shipwreck 2 were carried out from 2019 to 2021. The challenging conditions, coupled with monsoon seasons, often meant that diving down to the wrecks was limited to a week at a time during the best of conditions. The location of the dive sites also limited dive time per day.
Most of the challenges were environmental, so we've got the monsoon, we can't go out there and it's just too rough. Even when we're working, if the typhoon is coming down through the South China Sea, sort of between the Philippines and Vietnam, then there's this massive swell that makes its way all the way down to where we're working, so we can be in one position 1 second and we can be 10 meters behind the next, and sometimes doing a somersault in between. So that's challenging. And similarly, the strong currents can reduce the visibility. Some days it's like being in a swimming pool, it's beautiful. We can see many meters, and other days we have to crawl our way back along our baseline to try and recover or find our mooring line so we can go back up to the vessel. It's just completely pitch black. So we have challenges like that, and of course the long distance. So it's a long commute. It gives me a chance to read the Straits Times on the way out, and most of my fellas sleep on the way there and back.
After all that hard work, the wrecks have yielded their treasures. A wide range of ceramics in a variety of colours was retrieved. A large quantity of zinc ingots, along with parasols and figurines, were also found at the site of the second wreck. Samples of organic materials, which may have been used for packing or used as trade items, were also collected. Pieces of agate, a type of semi-precious stone, metal beetle nut cutters, and musical instruments were among the finds. In addition, 4 anchors and 9 cannons were also recovered from Shipwreck 2. The cannons are typical of those mounted on East India Company merchant ships during the late 18th and early 19th centuries, and were used for both defense and signaling. Out at sea, divers placed retrieve artifacts in bags attached to their waists. Up on deck, they begin the task of sorting and bagging them into mesh bags before labeling them.
The thing that was first sighted was ceramic shards, and now we've got this big range of intact ceramics that goes from blue and white. A lot of the material seems to be whiteware now, but originally it had enamel decorations, so they're on top of the glaze, they've been degraded. So there's greens and blues and reds that were on those pieces. We have blue, we have brownware, so a very wide range of ceramics. We've got figurines as well, so they're very interesting. They were sort of sold as a curio. But another one of the main cargoes is nowhere near as romantic. It was the zinc ingots, so a large part of the cargo was zinc. And that has corroded because that actually corrodes faster than iron. It's more reactive than iron. So that's largely fallen into pieces, but some of the ingots are still intact. And then we have this big range of organic material. So some of that would have been for packing, and some would have actually been trade items in themselves. But those things we have to get positively identified. A lot of it is amorphous mush, in fact. So if you touch it, it's very delicate underwater. So we've got samples of all of that material.
Work on the retrieved artifacts continues, as more research and conservation will be conducted on them following the end of the archaeological excavations. When this is completed, some of them will be exhibited in museums here. If all goes as planned, the public can look forward to viewing the first displays at the end of 2021.